Placed on a millennia-old trading route, Muscat, the capital of Oman, is a city with many layers of history. Muscat has a real soul, its own character and traditions. Join me and my friend Yusuf, a real Muscat local, and explore the secrets of Oman's capital and its stunning surroundings with us. Everything you need to know before visiting Muscat. We are approaching Muscat now. It's still very hilly and there are a lot of mountains around the city here, which I actually didn't expect. And of course the roads are much more busy than anywhere else in the country, but still kind of fine traffic wise. I mean, I'm used to kind of like getting stuck in traffic jam as soon as you get close to big cities, but this is really nice. Situated on a cove surrounded by volcanic mountains, Muscat has 1.28 million inhabitants and is the capital and the most populated city in Oman. Due to its structure, without big high-rises or a huge skyline, the city is pretty stretched out and has several quarters that are popular amongst tourists for finding accommodations. For example, Qurm and Qurm Beach, or Al-Bustan in the east. In Muscat, you have the choice, staying in a fancy 5-star hotel or in one of the oldest hotels in town. But the good news is, you can't go wrong, because Muscat sites are not accumulated in one single place, but dispersed all over the city. Today, to celebrate our arrival in Muscat, we're going to a typical Omani restaurant. After having eaten out mostly at petrol stations and roadside restaurants due to the lack of other options on the first part of our trip, we used our first evening in Muscat to visit one of the most traditional restaurants to finally enjoy some real Omani food. It is no surprise that the restaurant Bandar Al Luban was recommended by famous TV chef and host Anthony Bourdain, because the food is simply delicious. You will start your dinner with complimentary frankincense-infused water, and a must-try is a dish called shuva, lamb meat that is wrapped in banana leaves, slow-cooked for 24 to 48 hours in an underground sand oven, and that is usually served only for festivities and holidays. Good morning, everyone! I will have 2 days of sightseeing here in Muscat and 2 days of showing you around. 1 day with my travel partner and 1 day without him because he's unfortunately leaving tomorrow. But before we get to the sites, I thought I would take you on a ride though through the city here to give you a quick impression of Muscat. So there is this rock that is looking like a man's face, you see it behind me, and I just tried to find a way to photograph it, but it's not so easy to get close to it. This morning we rode from Muscat's quarter Al-Bustan along the coast to Old Muscat, drove by a rock that looked like a face, checked out the yachts of the Omani Sultan, had a little walk on Qurm Beach, and were surprised that especially the quarter of Old Muscat was much more scenic than we expected. Unlike other Arabic cities like glitzy Dubai, Muscat is one of the world's most tranquil capitals. The city is trapped between sea and mountains, and instead of endless high-risers, it shows off its typical white small houses. So this is the so-called Mutrah Souq that we will visit later. It's the most famous and busy market here in Muscat. But now we can't ride around too long anymore and I need to hurry because we are meeting someone now who will show us around Muscat. When we returned from our dinner the evening before, we took a cab back to the hotel and met cab driver and guide Yusuf, who offered to take us around town the next day and show us all the secret spots, including his own village. We agreed and found ourselves in his cab the next day at 10 a.m. because our first destination was one of Muscat's biggest sites, the Grand Sultan Al-Qaboos Mosque. If you want to visit, be aware that the mosque is only accessible to non-Muslims until 11 a.m. There is one thing you need to know before visiting the mosque. As a female, bring a scarf to cover your head and hair, and you should wear long-armed shirts and pants. So we are taking a tour of Muscat today, and behind me you'll see, I guess, the most famous mosque in the whole country. The Sultan Qaboos Grand Mosque is named after Oman's long-ruling and beloved monarch, Sultan Qaboos bin Said Al Said, who passed away in 2020. With a capacity for 20,000 people, it is the largest mosque in Oman and one of the largest in the world. It took over 6 years to complete the construction. Building this vast complex began in 1994, and the mosque was only officially opened by the Sultan in 2001. Even though the Sultan Qaboos Grand Mosque is one of the highest frequented sites of Oman, its shining tiles and immense size seem to cover up all human-made noise and makes the mosque a very calm and peaceful place to experience. The mosque has 4 minarets standing 45 meters tall, reaching toward the sky, and calling the people of Muscat and the Muslim citizens of Oman to prayer. The mosque is split into several sections: the lush green and flowery gardens, the comparable small females' prayers room, and the extensive and lavishly decorated men's prayer hall. A huge chandelier hangs from the ceiling, and the floor is decorated with a Persian rug so large that it took 27 months to weave. The mosque, and in particular this prayers room, is a statement of extravagance from Oman's long-reigning monarch, Sultan Qaboos, and a gift to his people, to his religion, and to his capital city. For our next stop, Yusuf took us back to Old Muscat to visit the Mutrah Souq. Now we're going to the souk. How is it called?
Mutrah Souq.
Mutrah Souq?
Mutrah Souq.
And that is, by the way, Yusuf, our guide for today.
Welcome to Oman.
Souk means market in Arabian, and Mutrah is Muscat's most famous and one of the world's oldest markets. Burning frankincense fills the air, and the souk is probably one of the busiest places in the whole city. Even though all the small shops, and especially the gold and diamond jewelers, were very tempting, we were on another mission. How much is one of those packs?
He say 1 kg will be 35 riyal, half kg will be 17 riyal.
Having visited the land of frankincense in the south of Oman in the beginning of our trip, we finally wanted to buy some real frankincense ourselves to make the famous frankincense-infused water at home that is supposed to be very healthy and said to help against a lot of infections and sicknesses. Before continuing our tour with Yusuf, we first had to run another errand. So now on a very important mission, we sent our bags from Salalah with all that we had in the airplane for all our motorcycle gear to Muscat, and there's no real post office, but there are buses that transfer your packages, and hopefully it arrived here. Okay, mission completed. Thank you. So Yusuf just told me that I should talk about him on YouTube because he's the best taxi driver and tour guide.
Yeah, thank you.
So these two ships were the ships of the Sultan, and they still are the ships of the Sultan? No. One of the sites not to miss out on, even though it is only hiding behind fences, is the Sultan's Palace on the harbor of Old Muscat. Yusuf of course knew some secret views, and first took us to the back of the palace, before we were heading to its front entrance. What's the name of the fort?
Galali.
Galali? Okay, very nice.
There's two, another one there, that's it.
Okay. This palace is the only one of the Sultan's palaces that sits in public view. However, it is not open to the public. While you cannot enter the palace, it is still worthwhile to walk around it and marvel at the structure's interesting design. With its mushroom-shaped columns and vivid gold and blue facade, it is one of the most interesting sights of Muscat. You guys can imagine how tired my travel partner, who is not the biggest lover of sightseeing, meanwhile was. So our last stop of this day, that turned out to be our both favorite, was not a classic site that a normal tourist guide would take you to. But Yusuf did. He took us to his hometown, Haramil Village, a small fishing town. Haramil is a cute small fishing village that is an example for what makes Oman so special. Very close to the more popular quarters of Muscat, the village was not taken over by gentrification or real estate sharks, but still houses many of the fishermen who still make a living with fishing. On the harbor, we met one of these fishermen, who was so kind to take time to answer all of our many questions and share his wise views of life with us.
But tuna is the best for you?
For me, yes.
Yeah.
I like fighting. Any fisherman, you must see some mark in his hand. Yeah. And this is also, you must be wearing gloves.
Yeah. You have life vest?
No need this. Like God give you still life, so you continue.
Yeah.
Even you are in the middle of the ocean. When coming die, خلاص, nothing helping you.
Staying in Muscat means having the choice. There are plenty of options for accommodation. From small local guest houses, the oldest hotel in the city, to opulent 5-star hotels, partly with their own beaches and pools to wind down after a long and hot day of exploring the city. Today I'm on the road again with Yusuf, who is showing me more of Muscat and the surrounding. My travel partner unfortunately left meanwhile. So I'm all alone and will explore Oman a few more days. I didn't take a lot of time to rest, because the next day my travel partner was leaving Muscat to return to Europe, and I met Yusuf again, who promised to show me more of Muscat's surroundings that are characterized by their stunning nature. First we made a quick stop in Old Muscat again to visit the fish market that you find opposite of the Mutrah Souq. Oh my god! That's cool! The fish market is a landmark on the waterfront along the lively harbor in Mutrah, functioning as a hub for Oman's thriving fishing industry. Situated on Oman's largest harbor, the fish market merged tradition with innovation on 4,000 square meters and is a generous public meeting space where you can watch the fishermen unloading their catches from their boats, offering their fish and preparing it after it was sold. The fish market is a throughout authentic Omani place, but in a typical Omani manner, nobody was annoyed by touristy me watching over their shoulders. This is, by the way, one of the places that I can highly recommend to visit with a guide, Most fishermen didn't speak English, and Yusuf was so kind to approach the sellers and fishermen whenever I had a question coming up. So where are we going now?
Going to Yusuf village.
Okay.
Bandar Al Khayran village.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And before going there, we'll visit a little bit front of Hotel Shangri-La.
Okay. The area that we were heading to starts south of the Al-Bustan quarter, where the city limits are, and where several small, remote, local fishing villages are situated along the coast for the next 40 kilometers south. The first beach that we were visiting was Charu's beach in Sifat al-Sheik. The chances that you will meet any other tourist at the stunning bay with soft sand surrounded by harsh rocks are pretty small. But if you really feel like getting away from everyone and everything, you can ask around in the village and get a boat ride to get to the really untouched places. I guess you guys meanwhile know how my motion sickness feels about boats though, so I prefer to send out my drone to do the exploring for me instead. Located about 45 minutes from Muscat city, we were heading to a secret gem on the rise to popularity, to Bandar Al Khayran. And on the way, Yusuf shared the recipe of shuva with me, the Omani dish we had on the first evening.
Garlic, chili, ginger, vinegar. You have to mix and cover in a special bucket. You keep it for 1 month before you are.
1 month?
Before, yes. Take nice piece of the meat, marinate with that spice, cover with banana leaves, and put in the ground with the special charcoal, tough, yeah. Very tough charcoal. Keep it for 1 day.
And that's it?
That's it.
Wow, delicious.
Yeah.
Bandar Al Khayran is a still uncrowded place of several islands and sandy beaches that, due to its natural beauty, is getting more and more popular as a weekend getaway for locals and tourists alike. Maybe you just want to enjoy your tranquil private little beach, climb over cliffs, go on a boat trip, or decide to camp out under stars. That's only a few activities Bandar Al Khayran offers, and why the area south of Muscat city rises in popularity rapidly. For me, enjoying the awesome views was enough though. And while I was looking out on the Sea of Muscat, I was wondering what other hidden gems of Oman I would discover the next day. But meanwhile, I was sure there was more stunning nature waiting to be explored. Did you enjoy Oman's capital Muscat and its highlights? Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and a comment. And because I promised you more of Oman's stunning nature, I will head back to the desert in the next episode, stay in the camp of a Bedouin family, ride a camel, and explore the dunes closer to Muscat with an experienced guide. I hope you are up for a stunning desert excursion. Tune in next Thursday and join the Got to Go travel crew.